My parents have been acquainted since 1979, were married 31 years ago on today's date in 1982. My father was age 28 when I was born, and my mother 26. My dad exactly the age that I am, making him 2 years my age today, this year only. My sister is 2 years younger. My mom was her age when she was born, which makes my sister 2 times my mother's age also, again this year only. My original due date was March 7th, but I wasn't ready yet. My parents were hoping for a good luck baby on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, but I still wasn't ready yet. They hoped not for April 1st as an April Fool's baby, so I decided that March 31st at 1:41 a.m. was good enough time as ever. Events that took place in the month of my birthday began on March 1st with Julio Sanguinetti becoming president of Uruguay. He was the first Democratic president in 12 years, and as a lawyer and journalist had taken stand against the previous government after a breakdown of constitutional order, participating in a group that led the military back to peaceful democracy when he served president from 1985 until 1990, and again later from 1995 to 2000. On the same date, Liza Minnelli voluntarily entered treatment at the Betty Ford Clinic. She later stated on Good Morning America that it was due to Valium and cautioned addicts to be careful, warning that the withdrawals were horrendous. On the same date, the Pentagon accepted the nuclear winter theory from a private consulting firm to the Defense Nuclear Agency, warning that nuclear war would have devastating effects farther than the reach of their current plans. On March 2nd, as could be found on the FDA website's timeline today, the FDA approved an AIDS screening in blood donations using the ELISA testing method. ELISA stands for Enzyme Linked Immunosorbent Assay, and by 1987, regulations require that all blood donations be screened with this test. On March 3rd, as can be found on the U.S. Geological Survey's website, an earthquake of 8 magnitude occurred outside of Santiago, approximately 125 miles west near the village of Valparaiso. 175 were killed, 2,500 injured, 45,000 destroyed, 76,000 homes heavily damaged, and 400,000 were left homeless, with losses estimated at 1.8 billion 1985 US dollars. On March 4th, the EPA banned leaded gasoline, citing evidence that it caused brain damage. By 1986, a year later, they had gone to 92% elimination and near completely eliminated by 1987. On March 7th, IBM released MS-DOS with an updated version of 3.1, the first version to provide network support. On March 11th, Russian President Konstantin Chernenko died, and Mikhail Gorbachev became the president of the Soviet Union. March 13th, Konstantin Chernenko's funeral service was held in Russia. He had lasted only 13 months in office and died of heart failure brought on by lung, liver, and other problems. On March 14th, Michael Seacrest set the bicycle world record of 516 miles in 24 hours on an indoor track. March 15th, the United States continued performing nuclear tests in Nevada as part of Operation Grenadier. The blast was called Vaughn and was a weapons-related military test. On the same date, the first internet domain was registered, symbolics.com, by a Massachusetts computer firm. When now contacted and interviewed, they don't even remember, and 28 years later, neither do we. On March 19th, the Senate voted to authorize MX missile production. Ronald Reagan stressed that these missiles were important to national security for use against Soviet threats. On March 20th, Libby Riddles won the Iditarod race, becoming the first woman to win the 1,049-mile race. She was named the 1985 Sportswoman of the Year and honored by the Iditarod veterinarians for her humane treatment of dogs. On March 22nd, NASA launched the Intelsat V510 communication satellite, a communication satellite for broadcast services that has since been retired. On March 23rd, the OCAM was dissolved, which stood for the African and Malagasy Common Organization, an African intergovernmental organization that was originally intended for former French colonial political and economic support. On March 29th, Christos Sartzakis was elected as president of Greece, known as a great judge and a fighter for democracy. The same day, Wayne Gretzky broke his own NHL record, totaling 174 assists, including playoff games. Having many pictures of myself with him I also had the pleasure of meeting him and holding the Stanley Cup that he helped win in 1988. March 31st, day of my birth, El Salvador won democratic success when they won 33 out of 60 seats in the legislature. Births and deaths that occurred in this month on March 2nd, as can be found on the ESPN website today. Reggie Bush, the football star, was born, now an American running back with the Detroit Lions and an approximate salary of $4.5 million annually. Dying that month on March 1st was Eugene List, a concert pianist at the age of 26. World renowned, debuted at age 12, and known especially for his monster concerts of 10 pianos on stage, also featured on TV on The Ed Sullivan Show. On March 7th, Eugene Woodruff, the original CEO of Coca-Cola, died at age 95. He was a native Georgian from Columbus, Georgia, was only 33 when he took over the company, invested in the company, and then took over as president after the company was taken public and remained involved until his death. Victor Ferris also died, the inventor of paper milk cartons, at age 75. He was known best for making milk cartons after deciding that milk bottles were too heavy, but was also the owner of a company that was the largest valve manufacturer in the world and 16 other companies at his peak. He died at age 75 on this date of a heart attack and left over $100 million to his wife at his death. On March 8th, Thomas Creighton died after a heart transplant. He became famous after receiving 3 heart transplants in less than 24 hours. He rejected his first heart, and his doctor was criticized for then removing and using a non-approved artificial heart device to keep him alive for 24 hours, which worked, and after which a second transplant was inserted, making 3 transplants in 24 hours. Unfortunately, he passed away the next afternoon, March 8th, at age 33. But my birth certificate says that the most important thing that happened that month of March was on March 31st, that I was born, and then the world changed forever.